Sergio Perez was under investigation from the stewards over a safety car infringement during his win at the Singapore Grand Prix. Sergio Perez has kept his race win from the Singapore Grand Prix despite being handed a 5-second penalty after failing to stay within 10 car lengths of the safety car. Perez was summoned to the race stewards after his race win, placing his second win of the season in jeopardy. The Mexican driver was in control of the Singapore Grand Prix from the very first corner, but all his hard work could have easily been undone due to a safety car infringement. He had been summoned for an alleged breach of Article 55.10 of the FIA F1 sporting regulations, which pertains to keeping within 10 car lengths of the safety car. Perez ended up finishing 7.595 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, but there was some suggestion he could face two separate 5-second penalties which would in turn see the Ferrari driver given the victory. A decision has now been reached by the FIA 2 hours after the race finished with Perez confirmed as the Singapore Grand Prix winner. But he was still handed a reprimand and a 5-second time penalty for two separate incidents. The race stewards determined that Perez failed to stay within 10 car lengths of the safety car when required on 2 occasions. He was reprimanded for the first incident, which occurred during the safety car period following Zhou Guanyu's retirement. The stewards noted, it was admitted, while the lights of the safety car were still on, Perez failed to keep within 10 car lengths of the safety car between the exit of turn 13 and turn 14. When questioned during the hearing, Perez said that the conditions were very wet and that it was very difficult to closely follow the safety car with little heat in his tires and brakes. Although the track was wet in parts, we do not accept that the conditions were such as to make it impossible or dangerous for Perez to have maintained the required less than 10 car length gap. Nevertheless, we took into account the wet conditions and the difficulties highlighted by Perez's mitigatory circumstances for this incident and, accordingly, determined that a reprimand ought to be imposed. But Perez did not escape punishment for his second infringement, with the race stewards determining the Red Bull driver had failed to follow the safety car rules again. The steward's letter read, this occurred notwithstanding the fact that the race director had issued a warning to the team that Perez was not respecting the less than 10 car lengths regulation between turns 9 and 10. The team passed the warning on to Perez. We refer to Doc 56, by which we imposed a reprimand on Perez for a breach of the same regulation during the first safety car deployment during the race. This was the second breach of Article 55.10 by Perez during the race and followed an express warning from the race director. We determined to impose a 5-second time penalty on Perez. Competitors are reminded that they have the right to appeal certain decisions of the stewards in accordance with Article 15 of the FIA International Sporting Code and Chapter 4 of the FIA Judicial and Disciplinary Rules within the applicable time limits.